You know, there's regular rich, and then there's, I thought this only happened in cartoons, rich. And sleeping over at a house that falls into the second category is just a genuinely surreal experience. It completely breaks your brain. One time, my friend Colin invited me over for sleepover. Now, I've known Colin for a couple of years from school, and I knew his family had money. He always had the newest gadgets and wore clothes that weren't from a discount rack, but I had never actually been to his house before. I figured it would be nice, maybe just a slightly bigger house than mine. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I finally arrived at the address he'd given me, and the place wasn't just big. It was a compound. It was all gates and perfectly manicured hedges. I felt like I needed a visa to get past the mailbox. Taking a deep breath, I walked up the enormous, sweeping stone path and knocked on the door. A door that was probably worth more than my car. The door swung open, and I was greeted by a man in a crisp, fancy outfit. He was wearing a dark vest and a pristine white shirt with an air of quiet professionalism. I instantly knew it wasn't his parents because I'd seen them at school, and neither dressed like they were auditioning for Downton Abbey. This impeccably dressed man looked at me, gave a slight, formal inclination of his head, and asked, "Are you here to see your friend?" I managed to stammer out a yes, feeling grossly underdressed. He welcomed me in, his voice calm and measured, and pointed me down a hallway wide enough to host a small volleyball game, giving me directions to Colin's room. I navigated the seemingly endless corridor until I found Colin, who was already surrounded by snacks and video game controllers. The very first question out of my mouth was, "Yo, who was that guy at the front door?" Colin didn't even look up from a game. He casually replied, "Oh, that's just James. He's our butler." My jaw dropped. I literally had to ask for clarification. "Dog, you have a butler? Like a real, living, breathing butler?" I genuinely thought that was just a thing in old movies or Batman. Colin just shrugged, entirely unfazed. Having a personal household staff member dedicated to his every need was a normal Tuesday night for him. For me, it was a full-blown cultural shock event. I spent the next few hours recovering from the sheer existence of James the butler. Then, around midnight, things managed to get even more absurd. Colin stood up and addressed all of us. "Hey, do you guys want to go to the movies?" I looked at my watch. It was midnight. I instinctively replied, "I mean, that sounds awesome, but isn't the movie theater closed by now? We'd have to drive way across town." Colin looked at me like I had two heads. He didn't even pause. He simply said, "Oh no, we have a movie theater in the house." My brain officially shut down. He led us through another grand hallway and into a door I assumed led to a fancy storage closet. Instead, it opened into a room larger than my entire living room, a dedicated movie theater room. There were at least 10 enormous, plush, electronically controlled leather recliners arranged in perfect tiered rows. The screen wasn't just a TV. It was a projection screen that must have been close to 500 inches across, spanning the entire wall. The sound system made the floor vibrate. We were instantly handed buckets of popcorn and drinks by James, who, of course, was still on duty. The moment I saw that setup, something fundamental shifted inside me. I was no longer just the average friend. I was a potential resident. I was on my best behavior for the entire rest of the sleepover. I spoke quietly, used polite manners, offered to help clean up the popcorn kernels, and didn't dare crack a single joke that might be considered gauche. Every decision I made was fueled by a single, desperate, silent hope that Colin's parents would recognize my inherent worth, see my quiet utility, and decide their life wasn't complete without me. I was praying they would just adopt me. I was ready to legally change my name and start learning Butler James's schedule. I wanted this house, and I was going to be the best behaved, most polite, potentially adoptable friend they had ever hosted.